Hi, and welcome to the Christian Gamer channel. I'm Paul, and I'm using this space to share my insights from the Bible. I want to be clear right up front. I don't claim to have any special authority. I'm not a pastor, a theologian, an apostle, or anything special. I'm just an ordinary person who reads their Bible and wants to share what I've learned with the wider community. Because of that, your personal insights are absolutely no less valid than mine. I strongly urge you to join the conversation. If you disagree with anything I've said, or if you want to add something you think I've missed or glossed over, you are actively encouraged to do so. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments or even share a link to your own video. I know sharing biblical insights can be intimidating, especially in an age where simply trying to tell the truth can risk persecution or the fear of it down the road. But remember, God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but of power and love and self-control. So let's not be afraid to stand firm and share our faith and insights with courage. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so on this, the 6th day of Advent, we'll be looking at Bethlehem, house of bread, city of David, and of course the birthplace of Jesus. The messianic prophecy we'll be talking about, of course, is Micah 5 verse 2, which in the King James Version reads, "But thou, Bethlehem, Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting." And the English Standard Version reads, "But you, O Bethlehem, Ephrathah, who are too little to be among the clans of Judah, from you shall come forth for me one who is to be ruler in Israel, whose coming forth is from of old, from ancient days." And the New International Version reads, "But you, Bethlehem, Ephrathah, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose origins are from of old, from ancient times." So Bethlehem is part of Judah. The word Bethlehem, or Bethlehem, means house of bread, and Ephrathah or Ephrath or Ephrata means fruitfulness. They're variant spellings for the old name for Bethlehem, which pertains to the fertile nature of the area. It's used to distinguish this town from another Bethlehem located in the region of Zebulun in the north. This specifies the Bethlehem in Judah about 5 miles south of Jerusalem. Now Micah describes Bethlehem as being small among the clans of Judah, or too little to be among the thousands of Judah, emphasizing its relative insignificance. This highlights a theme often seen in the Bible, where God chooses the humble and unlikely people for great purposes. Now Bethlehem is also the location of Rachel's tomb in Genesis 35 verses 19 to 20. Rachel passed away giving birth to Benjamin on the way to Ephrathah or Bethlehem. Rachel's tomb was set up in Bethlehem. There is some discussion among scholars as to the location of Rachel's tomb, because there are references to Rachel's tomb in 1 Samuel 10 verse 2 and Jeremiah 31 verse 15, both of which place Rachel's tomb in the territory of Benjamin, even though Bethlehem is in the territory of Judah. Some people think this may be down to changing boundary lines, but more likely because Rachel was a well-loved matriarch of the tribe of Benjamin. The actual burial place of Rachel was where she died in Bethlehem, or near Bethlehem, but the memorial monument to her would have been erected in the Benjamite territory. Of course, it could have been the other way round. She could have died on the road to Bethlehem, which was still within the Benjamite territory, and then a memorial was set up to her in Bethlehem. But the long-standing scholarly tradition holds that the actual tomb is the one in Bethlehem. Rachel was the mother of both Joseph, from whom the tribe of Ephraim came, and Benjamin. She died in Ephrathah, or near Ephrathah, which was Bethlehem. Thus Rachel becomes the point of connection between the northern kingdoms of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. Now the book of Judges records some dark times in Israel's history. Verses 17 to 18 records that a Levite from Bethlehem was hired by an Ephraimite named Micah as his private priest. This Micah also set up some idols with some stolen and then returned silver and asked for the Levite to be his priest. Ultimately, Micah's idols were stolen by the Danites, who then hired the Levite as a tribal priest, setting up a rival northern worship centre. And this marks the beginning, really, of the Northern Territory's descent into idolatry. And then immediately after that account, we read of another terrible event in Judges 19 to 20. During these very dark times in Israel's history, another Levite, this time from Ephraim, had a concubine from Bethlehem who was raped in the town of Gibeah in the tribe of Benjamin, leading to the civil war that almost wiped out all the Benjamites. Though both of these accounts do not happen in Bethlehem, they involve people from Bethlehem. So while Bethlehem is a small town, its proximity to the unconquered at the time, Jebus, which later became Jerusalem, gave it strategic importance as a place on a route for travellers. The route travellers from Ephraim and Benjamin, like the Levite and his concubines would have took, travelling south into Judah or vice versa, would pass very close to or through towns like Jebus and Bethlehem. Ephraim was the powerhouse of the north. Judah, including Bethlehem, was the central tribe of the south. The travel between them, which passes through the troubled Gibeah, is exactly what set up these disastrous events in the book of Judges. Nevertheless, it was from this, the weakest and nearly extinct tribe of Benjamin, that God chose Saul to be the first king of the united kingdom of Israel and Judah, showing that God wants redemption and reconciliation. Now Bethlehem is also the hometown of Naomi, and therefore became Ruth's hometown. Bethlehem is the town where Naomi returned to with her daughter-in-law Ruth, the Moabite, who was a foreigner who married an Israelite. Ruth demonstrated great faithfulness and loyalty to Naomi, leading to perhaps one of the more inspiring quotes in the entire in the entire Bible. And Ruth said, "Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God." That's in Ruth 1 verse 16 in the King James Version. As a result of this, Naomi arranged for Ruth to marry Boaz, and from that union came Obed, and from Obed came Jesse, and from Jesse came King David. Bethlehem was also David's hometown. Bethlehem was famously the birthplace of King David in 1 Samuel 16 verse 1. By prophesying that the coming ruler would emerge from Bethlehem, Micah links this future king directly back to the Davidic line and covenant, the promise that David's house would rule forever. That's in 2 Samuel 7 verse 16. And 1 Samuel 16 tells us that of all the children of Jesse, David was the youngest. He was out tending sheep when Samuel came to anoint the future king, leading God to speak to Samuel after seeing the eldest son Jesse. But the Lord said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. Now when David was hiding in the cave of Adullam, the Philistines had a garrison in Bethlehem. David, feeling thirsty, longed aloud, Oh, that someone would get me a drink of water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem. That's in 2 Samuel 23 verse 15. 3 of his mighty men broke through the Philistine camp, drew water from the well, and brought it back to David. David refused to drink it, viewing the water as the blood of the men who went at the risk of their lives, and poured it out as an offering to the Lord. That's in 2 Samuel 23 verse 16 to 17. This act of risking their lives to serve David, who was longing for some water from his homeland, serves as a profound Old Testament parallel to the sacrifice of Christ and the symbolic cup of communion. And in Luke 2 verses 1 to 5 we read in the King James Version, "And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor over Syria, or of Syria. And all went to be taxed, every one into his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, unto the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child. And so it was, that while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn." Both Mary and Joseph were descended from David, so it was only natural that they would return to Bethlehem to be taxed, and it was in Bethlehem that the pregnant Mary gave birth to Jesus, fulfilling Micah's prophecy. This is recorded in both Matthew and Luke's Gospel. In fact, Matthew 2:1 in the King James Version reads, "Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem." And this brings us to my lessons. Again, these are only my lessons. If you have different lessons, please feel free to leave them in the comments. So the first lesson is God wants reconciliation. Despite the dark times in the book of Judges where terrible things happened, God gave a door for the 12 tribes to be reunited. Rachel's tomb in Bethlehem offers a doorway to keep the 12 tribes together with the richest and most powerful tribe of the north, Ephraim, and the border territory of Benjamin, both having Rachel as their matriarch, who was buried in or around Bethlehem in the land of Judah. Despite the northern tribes' descent into idolatry, God still chose Saul as king from the tribe of Benjamin in the hopes of bringing the 12 tribes together. And the second lesson, God uses even the weakest to fulfill his plan. Bethlehem was least among the tribes of Judah. David was the youngest of his brothers. Rachel was the youngest and was barren, yet was the one loved most by Jacob. Ruth, a foreigner, became the great-grandmother of King David. Jesus, the Messiah, was born in humble circumstances. And the third lesson I got from this is, loyalty and fidelity are rewarded. Ruth was integrated into the royal line of David because of her faithfulness to Naomi. And the extreme loyalty of David's mighty men was rewarded in a huge military victory over the Philistines, just because David was thirsty and wanted a drink of water. And I think this is the fourth lesson. God works even through his enemies. Even though Caesar Augustus was not a follower of the Lord, yet by his decree to tax the people in his empire, forcing everyone to go back to their ancestral home, Caesar Augustus unwittingly fulfilled the prophecy in Micah 5:2, ensuring that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem. And the final lesson, when Samuel was sent to anoint King David, God made it clear to him that he must not judge people by their appearance, but by their heart. When you see people, do you judge them by their appearance, or by how they behave? God wants us to look not at their clothes, or their height, or their outward beauty, or even by any disabilities they might have, or their social standing, or their income bracket, but by what's in their heart, and what's in their heart is revealed in their actions. Are you looking at people with worldly eyes, or are you looking at people with spiritual eyes? Okay, I hope that Bible study was helpful. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. And I will look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's Bible study.